the Will County Planning and Zoning Commission February 6th meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Carruthers, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For all of those who are going to speak tonight, I'm going to swear you in mass. And everyone who wants to speak must have signed this sheet. If you haven't signed the sheet and you want to speak, please come up and sign it. Please raise your hand. I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. I do. And I ask one more favor, please turn down your cell phones or turn them off so we're not disturbed during the meeting. Thank you very much. Madam Secretary, would you like to call the roll, please?
Mike Carruthers, Joliet Township.
Here.
Scott Lager, Homer Township.
Here.
Kim Mitchell, Shanahan Township. Here. Barbara Peterson, Washington Township is here. Hugh Stippen, Frankfurt Township. Here. Thomas White, Troy Township.
Here.
Chairman Len Malone, Manhattan Township.
Okay. Madam Secretary, do you have an announcement to make tonight?
Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman.
Vice Chair.
All variance cases will be heard to a conclusion by this commission. They do not advance. The remaining cases, special use, map amendment, etc., will advance to the land use committee, this county board room, February 13th at 10:30 a.m. This county board room. It's actually next Tuesday. And those cases will be heard by the Land Use Committee, which is made up of county board members, and from there it will go to the county board for a complete vote.
Thank you very much. Okay. Will County Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing, is that?
It's approval. So I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The first zoning case tonight will be case ZC-17-031. Tyler Japay, owner of record, requesting special use permit for a landscaping business.
And variance. Two variants.
Yes. And variance for minimum yard setback from 50 feet to 11.69 feet in Washington Township. Are you opening the case?
I am.
Janine is opening the case for us. No. You know what? I don't know if I can get to that. Where it is.
Number 16, maybe?
Can you, does it turn on?
Nope, not yet.
Yeah, Larry Walsh on the podium on, but I'm hitting these and it's not doing anything else in the computer screens now. Oh, there we go. There we go. Thank you, sir. Podiums. And
Hey, you know how to see it?
I believe she's at number 16, if that helps.
I don't have numbers up here, unfortunately. No.
You have names?
No. Let's try that. Is that on now? Can you turn it on speed? Nope.
Well, I can go to the.
Yeah, she'll go.
I'm sorry.
Okay, is this one on?
It says it's on, yeah, it doesn't.
Let's just.
Yeah. Yeah. You turn mine off and see if that makes a difference. Is it working now?
Yep,
There you
we're
go.
on now.
That's
Okay.
good.
Stop that.
All right, so zoning case ZC-17-031, just to refresh everyone's memories here, it was originally presented back at the November meeting, so I'm not going to re-present the case. It was tabled at that time to allow staff to investigate some issues that were brought to light during that meeting by the adjoining property owners. So since that time, staff had gone out. We have updated conditions for you. There are 15 for the special use permit. And at the December meeting, the applicant had requested that the case be tabled due to a vacation. January's meeting was canceled, so that brings us to tonight's meeting. And as a reminder, staff is recommending approval of the special use permit for the landscaping business with 15 conditions. And then we are recommending denial of both of the variances. And I'll kind of run through the conditions of the special use. So there are 7 on this slide, and then the other ones are on the remaining slide on your screen up there. We have our standard condition for number 1. Number 2, comply with our requirements of the health department. 3, that it's not transferable to subsequent property owners. 4, building permits must be applied for within 3 months of county board approval. 5, building permits must be applied for the structures that were erected without building permits within 3 months of county board approval. 6, a site development permit must be applied for within 3 months of county board approval. 7, it's specifically related to the water resource ordinance with the retention pond that's on the property for irrigation. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 are specific requirements for landscaping businesses through our Resource Recovery and Energy Division. And those are in regards to the storage of landscape materials, burning of materials, and basically where structures should be from manure piles and things of that nature. Any questions?
Are there any questions, you say? Would the owner please come to the podium?
No.
Please state your name and residence for the,
Tyler DeBay, 29822 South State Line Road, Beecher, Illinois.
thank you, sir. You understand that they recommended denial of 2 of your requests?
I do understand that.
Okay, would you like to speak to that, sir?
Well, I would really like to keep the greenhouses there. Those are it's just a 2-inch cold frame structure. I have, and I submitted those at the last meeting, that the adjoining property owners where those greenhouses are. Both of them signed off that they're not in opposition of the variance being granted on both ends. The north property line, Mr. Ruer's, his property does not go back as far as mine does. So where the greenhouses are, they do not border his property. So that's why I did get those sign-offs and did submit those last meeting. So I would really appreciate if I were granted those variances because where the greenhouses border, there is no opposition.
And do you have anything to say about the approval of special use permit for landscaping business?
I do. So I have been doing some homework on what it's going to take in order for me to build my building up to commercial building codes, because that would be required, right?
Correct.
I had a good conversation with Dick over at Green Glen Nursery. He just moved his nursery, and he just built a new building. And for everything he was telling me, I can't afford to build a building like he did. For what the descriptions of how he had to tile different walls, it's just a shop. We don't have any customers or anything come to the shop. I honestly can't afford to bring this building up to commercial building code. Like I said, it's just a cold storage building, so in order for me to, it would cost well over $100,000 for me to do that. And it's just not, I'm not in that position to do that, unfortunately. So I really don't have a choice. I really can't pursue this due to I just can't afford to meet the requirements. Like I said, I mean, we just keep trucks in there so they don't get snow on them. Keep some tools and, you know, some equipment. So I guess I have to withdraw because I can't afford to do it. So I don't really know where I'm going to go, but I know that unfortunately I can't stay at my own piece of property. So I have no plan, but that's
How
where
long
I'm
have you
at.
been in business, Mr. Gervais?
9 years,
9?
since 2008.
Thank you.
Mr. Blake,
Yes,
these
sir.
structures that was built or placed there without permit, what happened there?
Well, those are not structures. So one of them is a carport that we put pallets of salt under so they don't get wet. And the other is just a larger carport that has been, they're just large Tapcons that are screwed into like concrete blocks that people make bins to hold material. They're just anchored down into that. So they're 3/4 inch by 10 inch anchors. There's no electric, there's no water, there's nothing. They're just there to cover materials to keep them from being wet. The smaller carport is literally held down with pieces of rebar that are just staked in there.
So if you had obtained a building permit from the land use department, you would have been advised that the 50-yard setback requirements of the A1 district, correct?
Correct. So I'm gonna have to take those down as well.
I recall when you were here last time, you had an issue with some drainage on an adjoining property where it was flooding. Have you corrected those problems? Something was backing up some tile you put in the stack that was sticking out of the ground, or?
I did cap that. I met with Greg, who's with Will County Land Use. It's starts with an R. Is his last name, and that was capped and corrected. And he's aware of that, as he submitted pictures right away. So basically, I'm withdrawing my special use permit, but I would appreciate it
Oh,
if I could at least have the variance for the greenhouses.
you don't want to go forward then?
I can't afford to.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate your input, and recommend a withdrawal. Thank you. Request a vote on the withdrawal. Are there any objectors to this case?
Yeah.
Would you please come down, sir? Please state your name at the record and yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Dan Bolin. I'm an attorney for Ken and Fran Brewers. My address is 140 South Dearborn, 64 Chicago. Just wanted to, we were here last time. Don't want to reiterate too much of what we had to say last time, but just want to say that we agree with staff. We urge denial of the requested variances. They don't meet the required standards. The hardship is self-imposed. The applicant constructed these structures without a permit. The plight of the owner, as staff notes, is not due to unique circumstances. It's because the work was done without a permit. And what's more, these would alter the essential character of the area, having these so close to the property line. I know that the owner says that the adjoining property owners do object. Well, I do represent adjoining property owners, and they do object. And what's more, it's not just the buildings themselves, even if they aren't immediately next to the property, the aesthetic harm to the neighboring property owners from having these buildings crowd the adjacent property is what would alter the essential character of the area, and that's why we're asking for the variances to be denied, and why staff also recommends the same. What's more is that these buildings, this operation, these greenhouses, has contributed to the stormwater issues. Raised grade, they're constructed without a permit, and they have harmed neighboring property owners, not just on the adjacent property, but on property further down the line. The special use permit, I don't know what to say. It appears that request for relief has been denied. But I want to thank staff for working with us on a set of conditions. We don't think the special use permit meets the standards. What's more, from what we've heard tonight, it doesn't sound like the applicant had any intention of complying with the conditions in any event. And so we appreciate his withdrawal of that request for relief, and we ask that you deny the requested variances. Any questions?
Are there any other objectors? Would the owner care to respond to the objections, or?
Sure.
Okay.
Hello. Again, Tyler Bay, 29822 South State Line Road, Beach, Illinois. He said that by building up the property that I'm adding additional runoff, causing detriment to both neighbors' property. My land has always been higher than it, and Greg was pretty clear. Greg from Will County came out, showed us a topographical map, both of us, me and Mr. Ruers, and said, your land has always been lower than his. If it was 5 feet higher, he's not displacing any more water. Mr. Ruers was not ecstatic, but I understand why. But it's the truth. He shows a topographical map. It's always been higher. He's always taken runoff. In the November meeting, Mr. Connors did state that he has hydraulic soil. He knows that it holds water. Greg told him that he has hydraulic soil. He already knows that. So I'm not causing any more runoff by having those greenhouses there than before.
I'd like to clarify, when you said you were withdrawing your application, is that withdrawing your application for a special use permit?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, and you want to continue on with the other two variances?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, appreciate it.
I have a question about why you're withdrawing that.
Okay.
You're not going to operate the landscape business?
I don't know right now. Right
You
now, it
could
kind of
still-
remains to be seen.
You have a landscape business without the building?
No, I mean, so by withdrawing the special use permit, we would be revisiting the code case, the code enforcement case, and then you would be required to abandon the landscape business.
Correct. I have no idea where I'm going to go. I have no idea, but I know that I can't afford to put the money into the building. I did go in for I talked to my banker, and I inquired about a line of credit request to take out of my land, and he informed me, and I think he talked to somebody in the building department. I don't know exactly who it was, but they said that I was in violation. So I wasn't even able to take a line of credit on my piece of property to do these building upgrades that would allow me to stay. So now I'm totally out of options, so.
You cannot remedy the out-of-code situations?
I can, but there's a large cost. They're requiring that I do a commercial building code, which would be similar to a McDonald's or places where there's a lot of foot traffic. I have none of that. We're just a landscape company. So I can't afford to make those building upgrades. I thought I was going to be able to have the ability, but yeah. The building's 5,100 square feet. And earlier, I did acknowledge that Mr. Ruers was along my property, but his property doesn't go as far back. So where the greenhouses are, they do not border his property. They border people that live on the next road to the west. We
Is
have
that
no-
that new family that's just moved in?
Yeah, and, well, that's the west line, that's Andrea. And then the people to the north of them, their property goes back further than Andrea's. And that's where my greenhouses border on the north end. So, and the greenhouses are about 1,100 feet off of the road. And I did build a berm in the front which blocks, if you're in front of my house, you can't see the greenhouses at all. I'm trying to make an effort to keep it cleaned up, which has always been neat and tidy. There's a lot of things back there, that's our equipment. And to try to keep the noise down, but that doesn't always work. We are in the snow plow business, so right now, the snow we have been running around the clock. But once the trucks are gone, they don't really come back until they're all done. So I am making an effort to keep to myself, but due to business circumstances, you know, sometimes I am making more noise than what might be tolerable. So that's why, due to the money factor, I gotta move the landscape business out, but I really would like to keep my greenhouses there. At least have something to show, because I tried to do the right thing, I was trying to pay down my mortgage, and now I'm being penalized basically for that, of trying to do the right things. So, which I understand that is to my own doing, I'm not saying
9
that.
years ago,
What?
9 years ago.
Well, it was never a
you
problem.
made it- Just think how far ahead you'd be in 9 years.
I'm not sure if I understand.
If you did everything right in the beginning, you'd have a flourishing business probably with all your buildings and everything paid off.
They are, but now I have to,
Okay, well.
but now I
it's
can't.
a plus.
Unfortunately, you know, there isn't any other type of enterprise in this neighborhood. And that's, you know, that's the problem. And what it looks like is you're gonna be able to stay
stay on your 10 acres and enjoy country living that way, but you need to get a landscaping shop somewhere else.
Understand. That's why I would at least like to keep my greenhouses there to try to grow some material to help supplement that cost for moving somewhere else.
So would you like to take a seat right there until we're finished with your case? And do we have to, for the withdrawal of this special use permit, do we have to take a vote, or do we just drop it from the agenda?
Well, I don't think he's asking for it to be considered, so I don't think a vote is necessary.
I can't hear you. Thank you. But
I don't think you need to vote on it. He's not requesting it, so you just vote on the two that he is requesting.
Okay. So we go on with the case then, and
I suppose you just want to look for motion for the
Thank you
two
very much.
variances at this point.
yeah, we don't, I don't, God only knows, I don't want to get involved.
there's a control window over there. Is that what you're in? Second. Must be what you're doing. Okay. Try your mic again, would you, man? No? Okay.
Anything?
No.
Have a mic now? No? Okay. Sorry, sir.
I'll just speak really loud. I did speak to staff, and staff said that they would ask the applicant to put it in writing, simply, so they have some documentation stating he's withdrawing the request for special use. So I would ask that the applicant be required to do that at a minimum. How he wants to do that, I'm not sure, whatever would accommodate staff.
I have your application, so at the bottom of your application just states I am withdrawing case.
Fair enough.
Janine, would you finish the, come up for the denial of the variance for the minimum side yard setback from 50 feet to 2.87 feet?
You want me to?
Do you want to present anything with that or no, or just?
You already did.
Yeah, I already did.
Yeah.
Staff is just recommending denial of the two setback variances.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Perhaps the applicant would be able to move the greenhouses off within the setback. You know, if this big building's now going to come down, perhaps he can get himself in compliance on the variances by relocating the greenhouses. Is that a possibility?
Well, the big building isn't in violation.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
I guess it depends on a matter of timing. How fast would I be required to do it? Because right now it's so cold that I would probably lose $30,000 to $40,000 worth of plant material if that stuff is exposed for more than 2 minutes and it's cold.
There's material in the greenhouse now.
We start growing really back in December.
Ready for a motion?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to case number ZC-17-031, I'll make a motion for approval of a variance for minimum side yard setback from 50 feet to 2.87 feet.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, say no.
No?
Why don't you do a roll call?
Yeah, I think we need a
Yeah.
roll call vote in a minute.
Roll call vote, please.
Carruthers?
No.
Blogger?
No.
Mitchell?
No.
Peterson votes no. Stippen?
No.
White?
I like to be different, yes.
As long as you continued, would you go on, sir?
Mr. Chairman, with regard to the same case number, I'll make a motion for approval of a variance for minimum rear yard setback from 50 feet to 11.69 feet.
Second.
Motion and a second. Let's see, a roll call vote again. Let's do it.
Carruthers?
No.
Blogger?
No.
Mitchell?
Yes.
Peterson votes no. Stippen?
No.
White?
Yes.
4-2.
Okay. I'm sorry, sir, you've been denied and everything, so. Do you have any paperwork for that? Next, we have zoning case number ZC-17-53. Applicant owners Mark and Candy Shell, variance for minimum lot frontage from 300 feet to 0 feet.
Okay, I don't think I'm on.
Podium should be on.
Yours has to be off, maybe, or what was
Mine is off.
we do before?
Oops, good, we're on.
Okay.
Thank you. Zoning case ZC-17-053 takes place in Custer Township. It is a vacant landlocked parcel that is located off of South Irish Lane. The owner is Mark Shell. The applicant is requesting a variance for minimum lot frontage in order to bring the parcel into compliance. I have an aerial image up here for you. The parcel is outlined in red. As you can see, the parcel is one of 4 that constitutes this sort of cluster, which utilize this access road over here, and then it cuts over through this access road to get over to South Irish Lane. The parcel is 10 acres. I have a plat of survey. Again, this shows the access and the easements that are on for this parcel to utilize over to South Irish Lane. And the zoning map, the parcel is zoned A1 and is surrounded by A1 properties. To the west is actually A2 zoning. This image more clearly defines the easement access for the parcel. So this parcel was created in 1979, which is why the owner is requesting the variance for minimum lot frontage. And this whole grouping here of these 4 were created from 1978 to 1980. It was originally one 40-acre parcel that was divided over the years into these 10-acre parcels. Each one of these parcels, both on their plats of survey and on their deeds, and it was on the original deeds that were recorded, and then also on the current deeds for the current property owners, the easement language is there that describes both this roadway that cuts through this property here, and then also this roadway which cuts over to South Irish Lane. These are some images looking basically down the roadway to get towards the parcel, looking across from South Irish Lane, and then looking in the vicinity to the north and south of South Irish Lane. Staff is recommending approval of the variance for minimum lot frontage from 300 feet to 0 feet. This is a unique situation that was created back in 1979 and has been in existence for 38 years. It's staff's opinion that it did not have the potential to adversely affect the surrounding area, as it is one of 4 parcels that utilizes these easements to get over to South Irish Lane. And we have one of the parcels, which I'll go back to Just help me. I got you. There we go. Okay. This parcel right here was granted a variance in 2000, the same variance for minimum lot frontage. And that concludes staff's analysis.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions of staff? Would the owner applicants care to comment?
She did a nice job.
Okay, very good. Are there any objectors to this case?
Good evening, my name is Roman Kowalczyk. I'm the owner of the lot directly to the east of the subject lot.
There's a backup there, sir.
Yeah, it's the lot to the right.
Okay.
My lot was granted variance in 2000, in year 2000, as we say. Me and my wife bought this lot 2 years ago. We were hoping to build our dream house there. As we understood at the time, this lot is not buildable. And that was one of the reasons that we made the decision to buy that lot, that nobody's going to build there anymore. The new owners of that lot purchased that lot. They purchased that lot in September 7th. They paid $15,000 for the lot, and they immediately listed the lot for $64,900. She is a realtor, and they were sending customers, their clients, for the lot without him showing up. And they were coming onto my property or my neighbor's property. The people were browsing because they couldn't find that lot. They were going through my stuff and they were looking for that property. He wasn't even showing up to them. And they want to build a car shop, they want to build a body shop, they want to build many things. And I told them, do you know the lot is not buildable? And they said, no, Mark told us that lot was buildable. No, they didn't know. They had been told by a realtor and the owner that the lot is buildable. So they were kind of surprised. Then when Mark, the owner, showed up, and I told him, no, stop sending people that don't know what they're doing, where they're going. Just come with people, show them the lot, but don't send them to my property. And I told him that people tell me that they're going to build a body shop here and stuff. And he was surprised himself that the lot wasn't buildable, but he said that he knows somebody in Will County, and that's not going to be a problem to get the variance and change the zoning. So I was kind of surprised there. The other issue is the road, access road. The road is that driveway from Irish Lane. It's almost half a mile long. It's very narrow, it goes between the trees, and it costs a lot of money to maintain. It's not designed to handle any more traffic than already is. We simply cannot afford maintenance if there's going to be any more traffic on it. And the other thing is when there's two cars coming from opposite directions, and one of the car has to back up because there's no way you can pass on that narrow road, and it's dangerous. And that's the other things. we are concerned about. Also, I read the report from, I read the staff report, and one of the things that they bring up here is their most significant concerns are recognition of a wetland with impact on development of a parcel. That lot is laying low. It's always wet in the spring, and in the fall it's full of water. And anybody that's going to build there, even the staff recommends not putting up the basement in that area because it's wet. It's going to have a lot of problems. And if they raise the land, that runoff will impact me and my neighbors because they lay low on their lot. So, and they're getting flooded already, so that's going to create more problems for them. Another thing is that the staff put down in their report is, and I will quote, the purpose of the variance is not based exclusively upon desire to make more money out of a property. The applicant's request for a variance is not to make money from the property. Again, Mark bought this lot in September. He immediately put it up for sale for $69,900. Then it was a price change was on September 22nd. He changed the price to $64,900. And on December 19th, when he requested the hearing, he took it off the market, so it's no longer on the market right now. But he bought it for $15,000. He's selling for $69,900. I mean, the math is simple. He wants to make a ton of money out of the property without any regard for neighbors or the neighborhood. I guess that's all I wanted to say. Even my neighbor, friend that wants to speak to. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone have any questions? No? Okay. Yes, sir. Please come down.
Evening.
Please state your name and
My name
address.
is John Evans. I own the property at 36201 Irish Lane, which is, we've got the aerial map. Let's see, the aerial one there.
You've got the road through it.
Yeah, right. But if you look at the aerial map, you can see that the driveway does not go. The driveway cuts right through the middle of my property. What you see over there on the left is also my property. That's an acre of land that I own right there. And that does not have a easement on it, on that property. That 1 acre of land. Just the 10 acres has the easement. You'll say, well, how can we get to that easement if we don't have one? Well, it's in the legal description, it's not there. Okay? What you see is that straight line going, that cuts my property right in half there. That does not even touch this red parcel down below. Also, from what I found in this staff report was that there are 2 wetlands on that property that they want to build on. And that whole piece of property, let's see, I can show you this right here. The entire parcel contains hydric soil. It says it right there in red. Okay. Let's see, the recognition of wetland with impacts of development on this property. In other words, you cannot build on that property because
This variance is not about whether the lot is buildable.
What?
There are wetlands. He's not trying to build anything
That's-
with this area.
Right.
Those issues will come up further in the process, but we're here both on areas.
Okay, but that was the excuse, that was the reason for him wanting the variance, was so he can build a house.
Access to the property.
Well, from what I read, he wanted to build, in order to build a house and bring the property up to,
This case is
okay, well, that's what was,
The building department.
Just about access to the property?
okay, just to the access to the property. Okay, well, okay, well,
If it's buildable or not.
okay, well, it definitely is not buildable, but, like I said, that, if you look at the aerial map, you'll see, I've got a copy out here.
But this
There's
variance
the,
will give him
there's
right
a copy of the
to be
aerial right here.
One at a
You can
time.
see that this, here's the road right there.
We can see it, yeah.
It doesn't even touch this piece of property. And that it comes over here, and that's his property there. This is another, this guy just had a heartache, just had open heart surgery. He threatened this guy, he wanted to put a driveway in here. I talked to him, and the guy that owns this piece of property back there, he was just diagnosed with dementia, and he threatened him with a lawsuit if he didn't give him access road to get to this piece of property. Okay? Right, I understand that, but this here,
We're voting on.
right, so, in other words, this, parcel 1 is that road, which is my driveway. See, I own that driveway. I pay tax, I have a PIN number for that driveway. That's my PIN number that you see up there in red.
Would you speak into the
Okay.
microphone, sir, so everyone can hear you?
All right. As you can see, that line right there, that's my PIN number.
There's a legal document
Yes.
pertaining to the road to that property.
And I'll let Matt speak to this too, but state's attorney and I both reviewed the platted survey. We reviewed the platted survey for that gentleman's property that we actually had on file from the previous zoning case as well. We reviewed the original deeds that were recorded when these properties were created from 78 to 80. We reviewed the current deeds for the current owners of the property. The legal description references both the diagonal and the road that leads east-west.
It's not a road, it's a driveway.
When you read the measurements of it, and from the beginning point of X to da, ta da, ta da, it covers both.
So from a legal standpoint, he has the capability of getting back there. He has use of both those.
Parcel 1, there's nothing in the...
Matt has something to say or something.
I'll just
Okay, Matt.
speak up loudly because that's
All
not
right, Matt,
working.
Let me see if it works.
Mike,
Go right ahead. Matt, try hitting it.
No. I'll just talk really loud. Janine's correct. We spent quite a bit of time reviewing this case, quite a bit of time reviewing these deeds, and it is my opinion, Janine's correct, that the deeds, all 4 of them, are describing that easement, and they all have access to it. The legal description does begin and goes all the way down and describes it, that all 4 have access to it. And in fact, I specifically took some time looking at,
Yes.
looking at that easement as well. And when that deed was created and was purchased at the very beginning, it specifically states that he is purchasing that property subject to then existing easements that existed. Those are on there, they then existed, and they still exist.
And that was there when you bought the property too,
Which was there?
that road?
No, I bought that road. I had to buy that separate. That's 1 acre of land. Road, that's my
The road was there
driveway.
when you bought the
Okay.
property.
Pardon?
The road was there when you bought the property.
It was a path.
But
It wasn't a
there.
road, it was,
there.
but I had to buy that just so I can get to my property. And I pay a tax on it.
And you didn't.
Yes, I do pay a tax on it. I've got a PIN number. I can show you my tax
I grew
bill.
up in
I've got it with me.
I grew up in the same type of scenario there, and like it or not, you got to share it with the other joint properties.
Okay, and then they have to share my tax
So
bill?
you should have bought that piece of property.
I would have if I had the access, if I knew it was for sale. I would, in fact, I'll buy it off him right now if he wants to sell it to me for what he paid for it, just so I can keep it vacant. But he wants to build a house on it.
We're wasting time. We're here to vote on the variance.
All right, well, that's pretty much, all you're talking, all you want to know about is the access.
Variance. It's a variance is what they're asking for. Those other items will possibly be addressed as he proceeds with his ownership of the property.
Okay, well, there's three of us here that are opposing this variance,
Duly noted.
okay?
Yes.
We're all in opposition.
Heard
All right.
Thank you, sir.
your concerns. Thank you.
Janine, can I ask a question?
Yes.
The aerial does show that property to the right of the red property is where the road terminates.
As you can see, it doesn't even touch the red property.
Because
Okay, the area,
Get back to the area.
the plat survey would be more accurate than GIS aerials with the overlays.
Well, you told me the GIS was more accurate.
No,
That's what you told me before.
So the plat survey showing it going right to the corner is correct then?
That would be correct. That's the official document signed by the land surveyor. With GIS, the aerials and the overlay of the pins and the tax maps can sometimes be off.
Okay, thank you.
Well, can I just say something?
Come down here
Yeah.
and say your name again, so the minutes know who's speaking.
Roman Kowalczyk. Yeah, the request is not, it's not for a road to get to his lot. His requested action here, as a staff report says, is a variance, an applicant's intention to build a home and bring a parcel into compliance with Will County zoning or ordinance. If he gets a variance, that gives him right to build a house on it, and that's all he needs to sell the
Looking for the
property.
same variance that you got on your property.
Yes.
And
My variance
the
was
building
there.
department's gonna determine if and where he can build a house on that property.
Well,
That isn't within the scope of this hearing.
Right, but is to build a house there. That's going to give him the right to build
He's
it.
not asking to build a house tonight. He's asking for variance so that the property will be in compliance, period, with the county's ordinance. That's all we're doing here. That's it. That's all we're doing here.
But getting this variance will give him the
Yes,
power to sell the property.
Sir, he has to come back here to the county to build a house. He would have to come back to the county, have to prove that he has dry soil or remedial soil that he can remediate so that he can build a house. And that's a whole different project than what we're doing here tonight. All we're doing is planning and zoning on the variance.
I understand that, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other people that wish to speak?
My name's Dave Gomez. I recently purchased a property at 36257 Irish Lane in August of last year. And I think I understand the reason for the variance here, but I had put in what I thought was a reasonable offer on the property. And none of this would, I know that a lot of the neighbors in the area, and there wouldn't, I would use it strictly for hunting purposes, which would there be no reason for any of this. I wouldn't be looking to build a house because my property touches the very top end of that, so that was my opposition.
Well, if you put in an offer, what happened to your offer?
It was turned down.
The owner turned it down?
Correct. It was reasonable.
Can't micromanage
Yeah.
other people.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you very much for your input, sir. We appreciate it. Is there anyone else who'd care to comment? and I would be willing to accept
I'll make a motion, case ZC 17-053, approving a variance for minimum lot frontage from 300 feet to 0 feet.
I have a motion, do I have a second? Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Everybody approved that variance? All opposed?
Just got a call for it.
That's it? Yeah, absolutely. The next case is CZ 17-055, a map amendment from A1 to I2, owner of record West End Tool and Die Inc., with shareholders and officers listed.
Mr.
This
Shaw?
report was prepared by Jessica Bell. Would you please start the report?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Zoning case ZC-17-055 concerns a 5-acre parcel in Joliet Township. The purpose of the map amendment is to develop the property for West End Tool and Die. West End Tool and Die is currently located at 22020 Howell Drive in New Lenox. On the screen is an aerial of the property. You can see that the property is largely vacant. There is one agricultural building towards the middle and the back. And the back of the property has actually been regraded for a detention basin that currently serves All American Recycling located to the east. On the screen is a plat survey for the property, so you can see that agricultural building there. And to the right is a concept plan. Again, that detention basin is shared with All American Recycling to the east. And following all the appropriate approvals for the map amendment, it would also serve this property as well in that industrial development. The property is currently zoned A1. It is deficient in lot area. Upon rezoning, it'll meet all the minimum requirements for the I1 zoning district. To the east is I2. Again, All American Recycling currently occupies that space. To the west is A1. There are a couple identical A1 parcels to the west. To the south is a residentially zoned lot. And kind of that, just north of New Lenox Road, that those strip of properties, there's a multitude of zoning. There's A1 agricultural, there's I1 industrial, commercial, C3, C4. Once you get closer to Cherry Hill Road there, those properties are within the city of Joliet and are also zoned industrial. On the screen is a little map here from the city of Joliet Southside Comprehensive Plan. The subject property is designated as industrial in the city of Joliet Southside Comprehensive Plan. The plan is from 2007. In general, the trend of development on the east side of Cherry Hill Road has been industrial. There's a lot of warehousing and industrial spaces taking place over there. So this development is appropriate and compatible with the trend of development in the area. The first image here is of the subject property facing northeast. And the second one is looking right on it facing 80. So that fence line is All American Recycling. The first image here is an image of the farmland to the west of the subject property, which is, you can see at this time is still being farmed. And the second one is an image of the industrial property to the east. Here's an image in the very back of the image is all that warehousing around Cherry Hill Road. And again, that's all within the city of Joliet. And then the last image is an image of New Lenox Road facing east at Cherry Hill Road. Staff is recommending approval of the map amendment request from A1 to I2. And like I said, industrial zoning is compatible with the trend of development in the area. A natural resource inventory report by the Wells South Cook Soil and Water Conservation District states that the proposed change is compatible with the surrounding area and land uses. A LISA score of 131 was calculated, which indicates that the subject property is not essential farmland, is part of an area of potential growth that would possibly be annexed or incorporated into a city. And this concludes staff's analysis.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions of staff? No? Thank you very much. Would the owners of record and their attorney care to come up?
I'd be happy to answer any questions if any of the members of the commission have them.
Okay, thank you. Then, is there any objectors to this parcel? No objectors? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, case number ZC-17-055, I'd like to make a motion for approval for map amendment from A1 to I2.
Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next case is ZC-17-057. Oh, pardon me, wrong. Still have that mixed in there. No, that's right, okay. 057, yes, map amendment from A1 to I2. Applicant's intent to expand existing adjoining facility and remove existing facility and construct a new facility. This will be done by Jessica Gall also. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Steffen. Zoning case ZC-17-057 concerns a 3.77 acre parcel located in Lockport Township. The purpose of the map amendment is to expand the concrete company that is located on the adjacent property to the north. On the screen is an aerial of the property. The property is improved with a single-family residence and a pole barn. The pole barn was previously utilized for a contractor's shop. This property has a special use permit for a contractor's shop. Upon new ownership, that special use permit is void, and even with that rezoning. The applicant intends to remove the residence and possibly the pole barn and construct a new building and new parking lot. The plat of survey identifies the current barn. The concept plan on the right side of the screen shows the proposed industrial building and doesn't show any other buildings on site. It also doesn't note parking or anything like that, but it does show that they plan to remove some of the structures. On the screen is a zoning map. So this property, it is zoned A1. To the north is I2 zoning. So the intent is to rezone to the same zoning classification as the property to the north and then consolidate those two parcels because they are in common ownership. To the east is A1 zoning. To the south is R2A residential zoning. And then to the west is I1 zoning that was recently rezoned. The subject property, the subject property is designated as mixed use in the Village of Romeoville's future land use map. Something to note about this land use map is that it was recently updated in 2017. So prior to that, their comprehensive plan identified the property as industrial. So a lot of the most recent zoning cases reference that previous comprehensive plan, and there have been some industrial rezoning in that area, specifically the property to the west. So although it does have this mixed-use land designation, there really haven't been any sort of improvements in the area that reflect mixed-use land uses. A lot of that comes as a result of the new metro station that's going to be going over there within the incorporated limits of Romeoville. So a lot of that is stemming from that. We did receive comments from the city of Romeoville, or the village of Romeoville. They don't have any sort of objection to the request. So it is apparent that this is a long-term plan, a long-term vision for Romeoville, but may not be necessarily applicable at this time because there haven't been any sort of improvements related to the mixed-use category. The first image here is an image of the residence and pole barn on the subject property, so you can see the pole barn in the back. The second one is an image facing High Road, which is facing east. The first image here is of Concrete by Wagner, which is located on the adjacent parcel to the north. And the second one is an image of the residential property to the south. So this is a view looking east of the subject property. And the second one is an image of the outdoor storage outside the pole barn currently for that contractor shop. Staff is recommending approval of a map amendment from A1 to I2. Industrial zoning is generally compatible with surrounding land uses, but it should remain sensitive to some of the residential uses to the south. A natural resource inventory report by the Will South Cook Soil and Water Conservation District states that the proposed change is compatible with the surrounding area and land uses, and that completes staff's analysis.
And I conclude that by going by two, they will no longer need that non-transferable special use permit.
Correct. So that regardless, it wasn't transferable, but upon the rezoning, that's moved.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else have any questions of staff? Would the owner of record like to come up?
Mr. Wagner is here, who's the applicant who runs Concrete by Wagner. I'm his attorney, John Antonopoulos. We concur with the staff's recommendation unless anybody has any specific questions.
Okay. Thank you. We have no specific questions that I know of. Okay. I'll entertain a motion. Oh, wait, is there any objectors to this? Oh, okay. I'll entertain a motion for
Mr. Chairman, with regard to case number ZC-17-057, I would move for approval of the map amendment from A1 to I2.
And a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay. Complete, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next case is CZ-17-062. Request is a special use permit for a light equipment sales and rental. And the Cheryl will take this up.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay. Zoning case ZC-17-062 is a special use permit for light equipment sales and rentals. This takes place in New Lenox Township. The owner is Hotspot Furniture Corp. with Gary and Chris Bryden as president and vice president, and they are also the applicants. The applicant is requesting this special use permit in order to sell vehicles such as scooters, go-karts, golf carts, etc. in the I-1 zoning district. The business that they are operating from the property is called saferwholesale.com, which is an internet retail online sales site. I have the picture up on the screen here. It's outlined in red for you. The parcel is 20.03 acres. It's the former Panduit site, which some of you may be familiar with, off of Schoolhouse Road. I have applied a survey which shows the structure, the large industrial building on the site, and also the parking lot that surrounds it. This is the zoning map. The property is zoned I-1, as I mentioned, and is surrounded by I-1 zoning to the north, south, and the west. There is also I-1 Village of New Lenox zoning to the east and an A1 parcel. These are
some images of the site and also looking inside of the building. So this is a view from South Schoolhouse Road, looking at the sign and also the structure on the property. And then there's an image of the light equipment that the applicant hopes to sell from the property by obtaining this special use, which is currently being warehoused in the structure. These are just some images looking down Schoolhouse Road towards the other industrial properties that are in the area. Staff is recommending approval of the special use permit with 4 conditions. The first condition is our standard. The second condition is in regards to the parking lot, which the applicant has submitted building permits for the structure, for the build out for their office space and also warehousing space. So one of my comments was regarding parking and accessible spaces. The third condition is in regards to landscaping. This is something that the Village of New Lenox has also recommended. The village heard this case on January 16th for their plan commission and then on the 22nd for their village board. So we are also adopting some landscaping requirements. And the fourth is just in regards to securing the building permits once the special use permit has been issued. It's staff's opinion that selling of light equipment from the property will not be detrimental or have a negative impact on any of the other surrounding properties in this area. And staff did receive comments from Will South Cook, IDNR, the health department, and they had no objection. And that concludes staff's analysis.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions from staff? Okay. Would the owner care to comment? Or you're not?
Nope, that was said very well, thank you, appreciate it.
I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to case number ZC-17-0, need my readers, 62, I would move for approval of a special use permit for light equipment sales rentals with 4 conditions as outlined in the staff report.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. The next case has a memo with it that I hope everyone had an opportunity to read. Case number CZ-17-064. Variance for a rear yard setback from 20 feet to 9 feet, and with the intentions to build an all-screen patio. And Jessica Gallo is our staff member who's going to give the report.
Thank you, and thank you for mentioning that memo too. As you can probably realize, Ms. Pajak isn't here this evening due to her health conditions, so she did want to share that memo with you and have you, the commission, take a look at it. This zoning case concerns a parcel located in parcel 4 of the Caroline subdivision. The applicant is requesting the variance in order to construct an all-screen patio. According to the subdivision plat that was recorded for this parcel, the existing structure is already built to meet the rear yard setback, so any addition to that encroaches into the required rear yard setback. On the screen here is an aerial of the property. So this property is one of kind of multiple in this cul-de-sac. Each is a single family residence. The plat survey confirms that the structure is built 20 feet from the property line that's between this home and the adjacent home to the south, and 20 feet is that rear yard setback. The property is zoned R6 and is part of the Caroline subdivision, located right off of Weber Road. The first image here is an image of the residence. The second one is an image of the rear of the residence where the all-screen patio is proposed. So you can see that fenced-in deck. The first image here is the image of that existing patio. So the all-screen patio will take up a portion of that, and it won't extend any further out. The second image is of surrounding sunroom additions, right immediately adjacent to this property. Staff is recommending approval of the variance for rear yard setback from 20 feet to 9 feet. Staff does feel that there is a particular hardship in making any sort of improvement to the property, given that the existing structures do meet that setback. So there is that unique circumstance there. And it's clear that within the Caroline subdivision, all screen patios, sunrooms, screened-in patios, in general are very common, and specifically in her immediate area, those types of improvements are common. Also in that memo that I shared was a conversation that I had with a member of the architectural review for Caroline. They did have a chance to review this. They did approve it as well. So at their most recent meeting, they had a chance to review. So I've had a few phone calls with members of the architectural review. And part of your staff report, Ms. Pajak also submitted approval from the Caroline Homeowners Association for that addition to her home. And that concludes staff's analysis.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions, suggestions? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to case number BC-17-064, I'll make a motion for approval of a variance for rear yard setback from 20 feet to 9 feet.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by the same sign? Okay. So our meeting has come to an end almost. We have to wait for our last papers to be signed. Yeah, I will ask that, sir. Are there any staff comments or any that you want to put to us? No? Oh, yes. Please. Brian Radley.
Thank you, Mr. Stippen. I'm guessing most of you people are aware that Kurt Paddock retired at the end of January. And then also Michael Smetana took a position with the Village of Lyle. So in that interim period while we are figuring out what's going to happen with a new director, David Du Bois has been named the interim department director. And I am handling the building division now as well. So if you have any questions, about any of that, you'd be happy to talk to me or David.
Thank you very much. And I want to compliment all the staff. They did a wonderful job tonight, as per usual. But it is always nice when you're short-handed to still put out product. And as a former business owner, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Our next, let's see, when will our next meeting be? Our next meeting will be the 20th of this month. That's correct. That's the second. Because we have that extra this time.
Did he leave?
And I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. We are adjourned. Thank you.